let me set the stage for today's episode. This isn't a surface level conversation. We're getting into real world insights, what works, what doesn't, and how to apply what you hear today in a practical way, whether you're building a business, a brand, or your next opportunity. I want you to stay with me until the very end, because I'm offering a free bonus specifically for listeners who finish the episode. Something that can help you skip the line and move faster if being on this show is something you've been thinking about. All right, let's get into today's conversation. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm really delighted and honored to have today's guest, John Lee Dumas. He's from Entrepreneurs on Fire, and we're going to have a 15-minute focused conversation. What you'd build differently if you started podcasting today in an AI-first world. First question is, how your thinking on starting, building, and scaling a podcast has evolved over the last 3 to 5 years?
Honestly, not much has changed. The biggest focus point that people need to be continuing to think about in the last 3 to 5 years is, am I creating the number one solution to a real problem in a growing industry? Is my podcast, is the content on my podcast, is it solving a problem in a growing industry? And is it the number one solution to that problem in the growing industry? If you do that, you're going to win. Now, of course, you can use AI to leverage your time and to scale. At the end of the day, your show's going to succeed or fail based on you providing value to your listeners, you providing solutions to their problems. That's the focus point.
A follow-up question on that, in terms of podcast discovery, you used to be able to go to Google search, and now there's AI search and AI SEO. How does that factor into discovering your podcast? That person that's looking for your particular solution, but they haven't yet found your podcast to help them solve that problem.
At the end of the day, people are going to beat a path to the doorstep of the number one solution to their problem. And they're going to ignore the second best solution all the way to infinity. Whether it's through AI, Google search, or a billboard, it doesn't matter. If you're creating the number one solution to a real problem that people are having, it's going to get out. You cannot suppress the number one solution to people's real problems, because they will talk to each other, they will refer, they will share, they will promote for you. And so you just need to keep hammering home on that of, how is my show doing that? How is it delivering value to my audience? How is it solving their problems? That's how you win.
What I really love about it is still the same problem, solution, and customers are seeking your content. In terms of the attention economy, before COVID, it was all about millions of followers, likes, and views. How is the attention economy changing with artificial intelligence? Trust, expertise, and brand are becoming more important these days when you're doing a podcast.
I've been doing this for 14 years, and the attention economy has been shrinking. People's attention spans is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And it always will be. We can be doing this in 10 years. It will continue shrinking, because with AI coming onto the scene, people can just go to an app and get the solutions to their problems. If you're not creating something that's better than that, you're going to lose. You need to be thinking about, how am I understanding what AI is doing? And by the way, I would do that by saying, what is the biggest problem that my podcast solves? Well, that's what it is. Okay, then go to AI and ask AI to answer that question and see how AI answers it. And then say, how can I create a 10 times better response to that? How can I create 10 times more value than that? How can I create 10 times more fill in the blank? That's what you're going to be up against. It's going to be a challenge. In 5 years, there's going to be even more challenges. And 5 years from now, it's going to be even more challenges. As much as all of us would love to rewind the clock and go back to 2012, when there was myself and 5 other podcasts that existed, that's not going to happen. Like, that was then, this is now, deal with it.
What podcast entrepreneurs misunderstand about reps, consistency, and failing fast, and how that lesson has held up since your daily podcast decision?
I knew that I was going to be a bad podcaster for a long time. When I first started, I was not going to be good. I was going to be an amateur, because I was an amateur. Like, how can you be good at something you've never done before? You can't, you won't. So what do? You put in the reps. That's why I did a daily show. I woke up every single day and I did one podcast interview, and I got 1% better. sometimes 0.1% better, sometimes 2% better. And guess what? That added up over time because I got up and I put in the reps. So every single day, everybody listening to this, whatever industry you're in, whatever content production you do, whether you're writing blogs, podcasting, videos, social media, it doesn't matter. You need to be getting up every day and putting in the reps and doing that thing. Because every time you do that, you're going to get a tiny fraction bit better. And it won't be obvious over a day, 10 days, 100 days, but over 1,000 days, it'll be shocking how much better you are.
Quick pause here, because if this conversation is resonating with you, you'll want to stay until the very end. At the end of this episode, I'm giving listeners who finish priority access and the ability to skip the line if being a guest on this show is something you've been considering right now. No action needed. I'll share exactly how it works at the end of the episode. All right, let's get back to the conversation. The corollary to that is I have friends and colleagues, they release one podcast a week. Is the podcaster that's doing daily or multiple episodes a day, are they in a better position?
Always. Name a professional athlete that practices 4 times a month, 50 times per year. They don't exist. Doing once a week, if the podcast or the show is a supplement to this incredibly busy business that you have, that you can barely squeak that out, that's better than nothing. But at the end of the day, the people that produce quantity are going to win because they're going to get better. You're not going to get better doing something 4 times per month. They're going to get better because they're doing it every day of the month. That's who's going to win.
It all goes back to the reps consistency. Next question. In this day and age, we talk about putting in that daily practice. The idea of pod fade, you're not seeing any result, spending hours and hours and producing great content, maybe getting a couple followers here and there, but not really seeing tangible results. What's your words of encouragement to those?
Pod fade is real. The problem with what you did is to get to the point of pod fade is you chose the wrong show. You chose the wrong topic. You chose the wrong vertical. You probably shouldn't be interviewing people. Why are you interviewing people? Why are you reaching out to people, scheduling them, having to show up at a certain time, interviewing that person, having the spotlight be on them, asking them questions, then editing, publishing, then having to do it all over again? Why are you not instead saying, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to turn the camera on, and I'm going to say, this is the topic of my show. These are the problems that we solve. Here's the biggest problem that you're facing right now in my area of expertise, in my zone of fire. Here's the solution. Oh, the video is 5 minutes. Good. It should probably be 3 minutes because you're going against somebody that's going to AI for the answer. So why are you having this long drawn out video when it can be much shorter? So you publish it, then it gets 0 views because it's not a good video. Then you do it again, or you do the next video and it gets 0 views because it's not that good. And then you do it again. And then one day you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm actually getting pretty good at this. And then one person watches it and that person actually likes it because it's actually kind of good. And that's how it starts. Mr. Beast, if anybody's ever heard of that guy on YouTube, he got no views forever. He kept doing it because he just kept getting a little bit better. And he found out what the audience wanted, what they needed. And then he was creating it for them. And then he was able to grow the empire that he has today. That's how you win.
Once you start to get content that viewers want to listen to and watch, what was that one moment where you went from being a channel to being a media brand?
I think you're a brand from day one. What are you standing for? What are you trying to represent? And can your brand evolve? Yeah, it can always evolve. For me, it was daily interviews of inspiring entrepreneurs. Nothing's changed there. Daily interviews of inspiring entrepreneurs. That's my business. That's my brands. That's what we're doing. That's what we're putting out to the world. We've been doing it now for 14 years, every single day, over 5,000 episodes. That's the focus. That is what we're standing for. To me, your brand is, what do you stand for? What problem are you solving? You can be that brand from day one.
I remember you giving a talk at Podfest and where you gave out a pitch to the community being like, we're starting an EO Fire community. We don't really know how it's going to progress, but if you want to join us on the journey, here's a link. Is a community, sponsorships, advertisers, books. What is the one thing that once you have a media brand to start to really monetize your channel and show?
It's definitely not sponsorships. It's definitely not advertising. You're not going to make any money doing that because you're never going to have a big enough audience to command anything that's meaningful in that area. They pay you $25 per 1,000 views. You're probably never going to get 1,000 views and you want $25 for that? That's insane. So you need to know what your audience's biggest problems are. You create solutions to those problems in the form of a product, a service, coaching, mastermind. It can be anything. And then on your podcast, you offer them that solution. You say, listen, I know you. I know why you're listening because you're struggling with this. Here's the solution. Go here to learn more about how to acquire this solution. It's $1, it's $100, it's $10,000. Here you go.
Final question to wrap things up is, what is your view of the state of podcasting when a lot of the chatter out there is it's not worth it because AI is going to compete with other people's attention?
I've been hearing that since 2012. AI is definitely going to compete. You need to be in the game to understand how to maximize the game. If you're going to quit before you began, then of course you're going to fail. I'm going to learn how AI is going to disrupt podcasting, and I'm going to try to use it in my favor. Hopefully I succeed. We'll see what happens, but I'm very eyes open that this is a massive disruptor. How can I use it to help me disrupt?
What an excellent way to conclude. And the audience thanks John for his time, attention, his expertise. He's built something really fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on the show and giving your expertise.
Thank you, Dr. Lou. It was a pleasure.
If you stayed until the very end, congratulations. You've earned the freebie. As promised, here it is. Email chris@drchrisloumdphd.com. You'll find it in the show notes and simply put podcast freebie. A member of our team will reach out to you about being a guest on the show. If you found value in today's conversation, please take a moment to rate the show 5 stars and follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps more people discover the conversations we're having here. To be a premium guest on the show, book a spot or join our podcast community. You'll find the links in the show notes below. And if you're looking for more personal guidance, you can book one-on-one coaching call with me. Our books, products, and courses are linked in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.